I just listen to God a lot, tell you the truth. God, I have a dream, God will tell me something. I wake up and go do it. When you have an idea, when something comes into your imagination, God places everything he has for you in your imagination. So when you have something in your imagination, it's actually a preview of a coming attraction that God has for you. So if you've been dreaming of your own business, it's because that's what he got for you. If you've been dreaming of a summer home, it's because that's what he got for you. He places everything he has for you in your imagination. You just can't tell it to everybody. You know why you can't tell it to everybody? Because if you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person. Your imagination is real, man. So when I imagine stuff, I act on it. And then to quit worrying about how to get it done. The how-to is none of your business. God in the blessing business, man. The Bible say, ask, believe, receive. Now you got to be willing to work, but he don't require you to figure it out. The how-to is none of your business.
If you do what you can, the Lord will make a way somehow. People say, how did you get here? I did what I could and God did what I couldn't. Do the best that you can with what you have, and God will do the rest.
We all have things that come against us. It's easy to live uptight, wondering how it's going to work out. We tried to figure it out, but we don't see anything changing. But there's a simple phrase you have to keep down in your spirit. God's got this. He already has the solution. You don't have to figure it out. In the natural, you don't see a way. That's okay. He has ways to do it we've never thought of. And instead of trying to force it to happen, you have to let go and let God. Not only will you feel the heaviness, the weight lift off of you, but God will make things happen that you couldn't make happen. Sometimes we're trying to play God. We're trying to make our boss promote us, make the contract go through. But as long as we're trying to force it, then God steps back. But when you take your hands off and say, God, I'm not going to worry about my finances. I'm not going to be frustrated because I haven't met the right person. God, I trust your timing and I trust your ways. My life is in your hands. You may have a good reason to worry about something. You've done everything you can. Doesn't look like it's going to work out. Stay in faith. God is saying, I'm in the process of turning it around. It's just a matter of time before you see things change in your favor.
You shall be tried, but you're going to survive. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. Everything is on schedule. Don't worry about your purpose. Worry about your season. Because when you get in your season, your purpose will be clear. God knows how. God knows what. God knows when. There are times you go through a season of mourning, a season of struggle. God has a time already set aside. Did you not hear that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning? Do you not know that God has a when?
It may not happen the way you thought, but God's ways are better than our ways. In the scripture, a young man named Daniel worked for King Darius. Daniel was so good at what he did, the king was going to put Daniel in charge of his whole empire. But when the other leaders heard this, they came up with a plan to get rid of Daniel. When your gifts come out in great ways, don't be surprised if people get jealous. Some people will try to find fault, hold you back. The good news is people don't determine your destiny, God does. Don't get distracted trying to prove to them who you are. God will take care of your enemies. They said, "King, you're so great. We've written a decree. No one can pray to anyone except you." They did this because they knew Daniel prayed to Jehovah. But that didn't change Daniel. Just like normal, he knelt down on his knees and prayed to the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob. They ran back and told the king. The king was upset with himself, but he couldn't go back on his word. So he had Daniel sent to the lion's den. When they arrested Daniel, he wasn't afraid, worried, panicked. Daniel's attitude was, God's got this. If it's not my time to go, I'm not going to go. He stayed in peace. What you're facing may be bigger, more powerful, but when you refuse to worry, instead you stay in peace, thanking God that He's fighting your battles, you are showing God by your actions that you're trusting Him. One evening, the authorities threw Daniel into the lion's den. These were hungry lions. God made Daniel unappetizing to those lions. God knows how to make you unappetizing to the enemy. What should normally defeat you, for some reason, it can't harm you. It can't take your health. God controls the universe. He controls the enemies. You're not at the mercy of random events, bad breaks. Nothing can happen without His permission. In life and in death, we have to know God's got this.
You don't know what God's gonna fight with, but I declare God's gonna get you out of this. You don't know who God's gonna use, but God's gonna get you out of this. In one moment, the weeping turned to laughter. That even the unbelievers are going to say the Lord have done great things for them.
We go hiking in the mountains sometime. They tell you, if you see a bear, don't take off running. Be calm. Carry yourself with a quiet confidence. In the same way, when you face enemies in life, those enemies can sense when you're afraid of them. They'll take more ground. But when they see you standing strong, thanking God when you could be complaining, at peace when you could be panicked, you are sending a message to those enemies: you have no power over me. My God is in control, and if He be for me, who dare be against me? God doesn't deliver us from every difficulty. Most of the time, He takes us through the difficulty. I'm asking you to quit worrying about what you're facing. Quit being upset because somebody did you wrong. Can I tell you, God's got this. God is not just with you on the mountaintops. He's with you in the valleys when you're going through things. The scripture says God is concerned about what concerns you. He's concerned about me. He's bigger than my enemies. He's arranging things in my favor. That attitude of faith is what allows God to do amazing things.
I think the greatest gifts in life, and is belief and exposure, right? Because a lot of times, for me personally, the reason I say that is there was a lot of moments in my life to where it was people that saw things in me that I couldn't see in myself. And they believed in me in a way that I couldn't believe in myself yet. And I rented their level of belief until I got strong enough to possess my own, right? It's like when you're young and they see you, and it's like even when you start out doing what you're doing, you could be talented, right? And somebody older than you or more experienced than you can see you and know like, oh man, if he did this, or if he does this, man, he could be great, right? And they can come to you and say, hey kid, man, you got something. Like you could be great, right? Like my teachers and my coaches, when they came to me and they was like, son, I'm telling you, you could go to college, man. Like you really, I know you're talking about it, but your circumstances are saying different. I think you can do it, right? And when they said it, I'm like, oh, I I can do it. Like, I can make it happen. Because they're believing in me making it happen, I think I can do it. So I think belief, and the reason I say exposure is because, like, I think when you show people things, that's powerful. I think exposure sparks inspiration, right? Exposure sparks motivation. Like, when I was coming up in that 2-bedroom house with all those people, and I went to the other side of town with my coach, and he was like, "No, you don't have to live like that. You can live a normal life," right? It changed my whole mindset. And my mindset can never go back to the way that it once was, because I have been exposed to something different, to something new. So I think belief and exposure are two of the most powerful things that can happen to a person. The reason that I think belief is important is because, like, when you're young or when you do something and you're a novice, right, and you start out doing it and you might think you can do something with it, or you might not. You might do it and it's being driven by your passion. And then somebody comes along that's a little bit older or even more experienced, and they can see it in a way that you can't see it, right? And so I think it's important with belief, because if a person believes in you in a way that you don't believe in yourself, you can rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own, right? And you use that person's belief to fuel you every single day, right? Because you can have a level of belief with what you're doing, but you can go back to a certain set of circumstances that tell you, nah, it's not gonna happen. And so you rent that person's belief until you get strong enough to possess your own.
Are you letting people talk you out of what God put in your heart? You can't get well. You saw the report. You'll never get out of debt. You've reached your limits. You can't start that business. You won't accomplish your dreams. You have too much opposition. Do like him. Let that go in one ear and out the other. Ignore what they're saying. They don't determine your destiny. God does. But if Barnabas would have been passive and indifferent, thought, hey, I'm blind, it's just a bad break, he wouldn't have received his sight. He had this passion, this fire on the inside that said, this is your day. This is your time. He rose up and took that step of faith. If you're going to see what you're believing for, you have to be willing to do what other people won't do. Other people may not believe when it looks impossible. Other people may settle where they are. They may get discouraged, tell you, don't bother praying, don't bother believing, no use getting your hopes up, you're wasting your time. You have to do like Barnabas and say, God, this looks impossible, but I know you can do the impossible. The odds are against me, but God, I know you are for me. Well, I put in 3 applications. All 3 companies turned me down. I don't think I'll ever find a job. I say this respectfully, you don't want it bad enough. Well, I dated 2 girls. Both of them told me I wasn't their type. I don't think I'll ever get married. You don't want it bad enough. There are several million other girls out there. Well, I want to get well, but the medical report says I'm not going to make it. When the odds are against you, you have to want it on a new level. How bad do you want to get out of debt? Bad enough to not buy things you can't afford? Bad enough to not try to keep up with your friends? Bad enough to honor God by tithing your income? How bad do you want that promotion? Bad enough to get to work early? Bad enough to do more than what's required? Bad enough to take that online course to sharpen your skills? I don't want to take another course. I don't want more work. I just want the promotion. You don't want it bad enough. You have to stand out in the crowd.
You're wasting a bunch of percentage here. We have 80 more percent that we're not tapping into, because in this other 80% is suffering, pain, failure, self-doubt, darkness, and then a whole bunch of light. But to get to this light, you got to go through all of this shit. So a lot of us know that. We know, yeah, I can get over here, but over here, man, this is much better, because I got to go through this journey that is not fun. This from 20 to 100%, this shit in between is not fun. So we decided to live over here. So everybody goes, how do you do that? You know exactly how to do that. You know exactly. It's not a magic trick. There's nothing I talk about in that book that's a magic trick. It's all back down to a very primitive mindset of we just have to do. It's like breathing. Breathing becomes normal. Like we don't even know that we're doing it. That's how you have to live your life. When that alarm clock goes off at 4 or 5 in the morning, your mind says no. You just say, this is what we do. It's what we do now. Because to get to where you want to go, the amount of pain involved, I'm not saying physical, I'm not saying you got to break yourself off. The amount of mental pain of how many times you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. There's going to be more times you do something that you don't want to do than you are going to want to do it. And that's your new norm. What is in us, we have no idea until we start trying hard. And I mean really trying hard when you're obsessed with, hey, this is my new norm. My new norm is that, wow, this isn't always fun.
We give names like English Channel, like Atlantic, to what is actually the same body of water. Pacific, same. Indian Ocean, same. South China Sea, same. All these different names when everything is one ocean, one sea. And so it is with the human race. We give ourselves and we are given all these names and labels to define us, when actually all of us, none excluded, are different points of attention in the same flow of infinite awareness. Here we are looking at ourselves as divided into labels and names, when actually we're all expressions of the same consciousness, exploring forever. The names, the labels, are just brief experiences. As human is a brief experience for the consciousness that is having those experiences. What a different world it would be if we realized that we are all different expressions of each other.
So what? Show up again tomorrow, and tomorrow out of that dog shit, a flower will emerge. You never know, and that's the only way to develop real.
And you understood that you don't need to go back to that mistake again.
These things in life are not easy for me. You look to your left, you look to your right, and you start to judge yourself off other people.
I'm a winner. I'm going to win. You're born with a gift. It's not that then you get good at something along the way. What you're good at, you don't take for granted. You don't betray it. What if you do? Betray your gift? And you betray yourself. For far too long, you've been holding yourself back. This is time for you. To walk with purpose, it's time for you. To walk into your gift.
Like, to really develop your potential 100% in anything, whether it's as an author or even as a martial artist. There's a lot of creativity in martial arts. To be a great striker, you have to be creative, because you have to develop patterns or execute patterns that aren't going to be perceived. This idea that life is hard, something you're supposed to shield from them, it's so silly. And, you know, I've had this conversation with my friends because, so we put our kids in these good schools, we live in these nice neighborhoods, everybody eats healthy, and there's no fucking domestic violence, and everybody seems, it's so different than all of our lives. And we were talking about it. Me and Brian Callen were actually talking about it.
And yes, sometimes you may make the same mistakes. But those mistakes can be even more crucial in your life. And this is why you must continue to push forward and get rid of the things that are not making you better. The battle continue. Carry on. Be productive. Be powerful. And from the bottom of my heart, conduct your business. Lights, camera, action. How much action do you have flowing through your veins right now?
And they're all interesting. But I don't want my kids to be boring, but I also want them to be safe. So it's like, how do you approach that? I mean, I think you get involved. This is what I've chosen to do, is get my kids involved in martial arts and give them the opportunity to pursue difficult things, and understanding that through pursuing these difficult things, like in accomplishing stuff, like you learn something about yourself. You learn that you have this ability inside of you to overcome. Get obsessed with life improvement. Find things that you enjoy doing that are difficult, do them and get better at them. It seems so simplistic. It seems like a ridiculous, idealistic point of view, but it's effective. Well, you need some amount of pride and some amount of ego to get good at things in the first place, because it's such a counterintuitive notion, because you have to have a belief in yourself. You have to be able, like when you start out at jiu-jitsu, you're a white belt. Like I remember being a white belt and being like, oh.
How far are you willing to push yourself? Or are you the type of person that likes to sell wolf tickets? Like to fake the funk? Pretending you're doing something when you're really not? How much effort are you honestly putting into your craft, into your ideas, into your work? Whatever it is that you got going on in your life, what are you prepared to do? Action. Think about that for a minute. How long have you been stuck in a rut, constantly making the same mistakes over and over again? But there's nothing wrong with mistakes. But why do you keep making them? The same mistakes. Keep putting yourself in a position where you can't go beyond those mistakes. Constantly making excuses. All you're doing is preaching. All you're doing is putting out words. But there's no action. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to put the action in. You got to be about your business.
It's time for you to live your best life. We're going to make mistakes. You got to own them. Then you got to make amends. And then you got to move on, so turn the page, get off the ride. You are the author of the book of your life. Turn that page. The only person you're destined to become is the person you decide to be. You never made a mistake, it means you never tried. If you never tried, it means you never took a chance.
Like, if you're a female, well, she's skinny and she doesn't work out as hard as I do, and everything starts to corrupt your mind. You start to look around too much at other people and what they're doing, and that starts to corrupt your own dialogue. We are judging ourselves against too many people. You have to judge yourself against yourself. And that's the one thing I started learning, man. This isn't a race against me and other people. This is a race against David Goggins and David Goggins alone. And once you can silence all that bullshit, all the outside interference and things that are attracting your mind to everything, you can then start to grow and realizing, I'm stressed out for no reason. This is my own little race. This is my own timeline, and this is how I'm going to run it. The conversation has to become an honest conversation of where you're at mentally. Where am I at mentally?
If you never took a chance, you never believed in yourself. You never had faith. You need faith, you need to believe in yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. What matters is you keep getting up every day and trying again. And that's what really is important. Knowing that you know each day you have an opportunity to change, but I want to give you a new word for change. And that word is evolution. A new word. Going to evolve or inspire, see everything.
What you believe you deserve, and you're allowing it to happen. And I'm going to challenge you today to stop that. Stop allowing it and know that you deserve better. And so we're going to talk about something very ironic today that doesn't seem connected to it, but it's absolutely connected to it. And that's ego. See, the truth is ego is always false. Ego is always something that raises its head when we're insecure, when we're fearful. If you meet people that you think are egomaniacs that are constantly bragging about themselves, these are the most insecure people that you know. They're the most fearful people that you know. They're the most scared, and they're usually the least happy. And so, but I'm going to say something to you today. I want you to consider as I go through ego today. I know you think, wow, I'm so down on myself. How could I have an ego? It's actually the people that are down on themselves that actually have their ego materialize and show up more often than they think. And it's their ego that may actually be holding them back. You think, wow, how could someone with low self-esteem have a big ego? Well, trust me, they do. And so egos are not part of people with high self-esteem. The people in my life that are the most self-confident typically don't have big egos.
Look like shit. I feel like shit. I'm falling behind in school. I'm lazy. My house is a mess. You have to look at what it is and call it what it is. Don't find words to make yourself feel better. Because we hang around people that make us feel better, that tell us what we want to hear, not what we need to hear. And so we stay away from those people. And we stay away from those people, like our internal dialogue becomes that kind, it's okay. It's not okay. So that's where it starts. It starts with that accountability of it's not okay anymore. This can no longer be okay. And calling yourself out for exactly what you are and exactly how you need to fix it.
We have an epidemic in this world. The epidemic I'm talking about it
changes, the economy changes, relationship changes, we change mentally and emotionally and physically, and you are whether dying or you are either living life. Always offers you a second chance. Know what it's called. Tomorrow see change as growth, see change as transformation, see change as evolution. Your history is not your destiny. You can't get it because you want it. If you put in the work, they can't deny you.
And so I want to talk to you about that today. By the way, I'm covering this today like many things I cover because it's something I struggle with. My ego will step forward often in my life, and it usually steps forward when I'm the most scared. It could be when I'm achieving. I'm starting to be pretty full of myself, right? But a lot of times when you're achieving and you're full of yourself, what's really happening in your mind is you're afraid you're going to fall down. You're afraid you're going to lose something. You're afraid there's going to be a setback. So often our friends, where we see their ego, is when they're doing good. Or she thinks she looks so good, she's showing herself. Actually, she doesn't think she looks good, and she's looking for validation from other people. You guys that have a friend, he's really winning, he's making a lot of money, he's just not the same. He's got a big ego all of a sudden. You'd be surprised. That money he's making, that car he's driving now, he's so afraid he's going to lose it. He's so scared. He so believes his results have exceeded who he really is. He's so out over his skis that ego shows up because he's afraid. When you see ego, know it usually means fear. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it's true.
Once we've adopted these standards of behavior and conduct, we're committed to honor them. And if we don't, then there can be no disciplined activity.
If you're not hungry, if you're not willing, if you don't have the grit, if you don't have the tenacity, then you're not going to get what you're looking for.
I have to be truthful to myself. You have to be truthful to yourself. You have to stop rationalizing, stop making excuses, stop telling yourself little watered down assessments of where you're really at. Tell yourself the truth.
If you live very long at all of your youthful idealism gives way to the harsh realities of life itself. When you were a teenager, you thought you knew everything music, but when you got to put everything in practice, you found out it wasn't as easy as you thought it was. Life has a way of making you close your mouth. Life will mute you, shut you down. Because all of us, if you live long enough, will go through a period of feeling so overwhelmed that you think of one more thing if the phone rings, one more time if I get another text, if I get another email. Sometimes I question technology. I appreciate all the advances, but I don't need another way for anybody to be able to access me.
We find ourselves announcing our standards to our relatives, our friends, our associates. We shout our beliefs and condemn those who believe any differently, but then we don't walk the talk. We end up acting in a way far different from the beliefs we've shouted. We tell our kids that the TV is rotting their minds, yet we spend our evenings in front of it. We tell our employees that they must take advantage of every minute of the working day, yet we spend 3 hours at lunch. Do as I say, not as I do. This is inconsistent. This leads to a loss of credibility among those who watch us. And more importantly, this leads to a loss of credibility within ourselves.
I want you to recognize that it takes work. It takes sacrifice. It takes understanding. It takes will. It takes determination. This is that time right now to get it. Push that last rep. Push with everything you got. Tell excuses to step aside. Let weakness know that it is not welcome in your house. And go after what it is that you are seeking. Because the opportunities are yours. Go get it. Go get it now. And give it everything you got. Be productive. Be powerful. And from the bottom of my heart, conduct your business.
The only thing worse than one who is inconsistent in applying their self-imposed disciplines is one who has never considered the need or the value of discipline at all. These people seem to wander aimlessly, changing procedures, changing standards, changing loyalties, and shifting frequently from one commitment to another, leaving behind a trail of broken friendships, unfinished projects, and unfulfilled promises, all because of a discipline that was either non-existent or imposed so infrequently that it was ineffective. Here's the third step to becoming consistently self-disciplined. Number one is realizing that discipline isn't the easiest option. Number two, discipline is a full-time activity, day by day, every day. And the third step to becoming self-disciplined is really a philosophy that holds one of life's unique promises.
You want a shortcut. You want to go the easy route. That's what you're looking for, right? That's what you're thriving for, right? It's not how it works in the real world. There are no easy days. Why would you want easy? Why do you want to just take the short route? How many times have you parked your car at your local grocery store and you wanted to get closer to the door instead of parking far away from the door? That is an opportunity right there to test yourself and say, why not walk a little bit further? You're probably thinking, why should I? Because it's convenient for me to be closer to the door. Convenience is not always the best policy. It's not the best way to go about things in your life. Everything should not be given to you. Instead, you should earn it.
You've lost again and again, the lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day, and say to yourself, it's not over until. If you want to make your dream become reality, the people that are running at their dreams know that it's possible, that you can live your dream, that it's necessary, that you're relentless, that you have a plan of action, that you are creative. The people that are living their dream of finding winners to attach themselves to the people that are living their dreams of a people that know that it's going to happen, it's up to them, and they're resolving within themselves, it's not over until I win. Listen to me very closely. Winners win and losers lose, and there are those of you out there, you lose it and you don't deserve to lose. You put in the work, you worked hard, and you blooms.
So that you can get where you want to go. You can be who you want to be. You can be who you should be. Who you should be when you do what you know you should do. When you pay attention to the little things. When you implement discipline. True and unflinching and unmitigated discipline in your life. When you stop trying to find a sweatless solution. When you look for weaknesses to work on, when you allow no easy excuses. And all that starts when you stop lying to yourself.
Given equally to every human being, time is therefore the only commodity every human possesses. We don't possess the same amount of money. We possess the same amount of time. So the key to life is what you become in life is determined by how you use the time you have. And that's why we use terms like spending time. Time is a currency. Every human has the same amount every day. And time, like currency, must be spent. And here's the problem. Time is used to buy life. So whatever you are, you spend your time buying it. Time is so powerful that whatever you invest your time in, you become. Write this down. Time can be what? Abused. Time can also be lost. You can lose it, just like money. Time can be squandered, just like money. You could spend an entire day. Have you ever said this? I don't know where the day gone.
I mean, you do me a favor. This is me here to turn that around. The people that are running after that dream know they're going to have hard times. They keep on running because they're saying within themselves, I'm the one, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. The people that are running after their dreams are the people that are hungry. Listen to me very closely. Somewhere you are broke, listen to me, you flat out broke, right? You ain't got gas money. And we're not just talking about money, you've broken your relationships. You've broken your health and you not work because you have to be right, and I'm telling you, your whole life is gonna change.
When you stop lying to yourself, that's when you can become who you know you should be. When you tell yourself the truth about where you are, so you can make sure you are in the right place. And if you're not in the right place, that you can get yourself on the path to get there. Path of discipline, the path of hard work, and the path of truth.
Most people, their associations are to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. But it's so illogical, because when you look at comfort, a lot of those are connected to discomfort. Like, discomfort is your friend. It really is. Like, discomfort, not being happy and content with certain situations in life, certain feelings in life, they're massive motivators, and they're amazing at facilitating change. Well, when I was 21 and I was first starting to do comedy, that's when I was really devouring as much of it as possible, because I was trying to figure out like how to not be so lazy.
Yeah, no, that's right. Why? You squandered it. It didn't take you closer to your goals, didn't take you closer to your vision, didn't accomplish the things you wanted, and you spent it and squandered it on stuff that didn't count. Time is more important than money. That's why the businessman say time is. Can I put it another way? Write this down. Time can be depreciated just like money. Time can also be devalued. Every hour is important. My question is, what are you spending it on? You can reduce the value of your life by the things you spend your time with, who you spend your time with, where you spend your time all day. You can devalue your time. I'm a victim of time. Write this down, please. You can never stop time. You can also never control it. You can't resist it. You can't never compromise with time.
If you would get off the couch, stop playing video game, having a good time, you've got to have the strength of character to concentrate to read the guide. Just information, you've got to learn how to become resourceful, you've got to learn how to become creative like Thrill You broke at you. Will you grow by complaining, I'm going to a job you don't like, you are broke? This is them, you go on to a job you'll like, you've been there 15, 20 years. And put on the job, I'm not even saying you should quit your job, but I'm saying that after you get off work just like you, invest whatever you need to invest in yourself. And the problem is simple, you're not investing in your idea, that you're always looking for a way to get over.
You can get discouraged a lot of ways, but the one surefire way to avoid discouragement, first of all, let's understand something. We're all participating in this thing called life, all of us. Life has ebb and flows, mountaintops, it's got valleys, it's got thunderstorms in it, earthquakes. This life, you stop expecting it to go smooth, because it ain't finna go smooth. The road to success is always under construction. This life ain't set up to be smooth. You combat negativity and you combat discouragement with gratitude. It's the one way to combat discouragement is with gratitude. What messes you up is you focus on the thing that's not happening, and that causes you to get discouraged. So whenever you get discouraged, you have to change your focus from what's not happening to what has happened.
If you have a business, you're gonna have to work for it. If you have a healthy relationship with your children, I've made up in my mind that nothing's gonna stop us from having a daily relationship. I will do whatever it takes, make whatever adjustments I need to make. So it's gonna be a dog fight, but I'm telling you from personal experience, you don't have to start with anything. I'm a living example. You don't have to have anything to get started, not even a daddy. No, I'm being real with you. Not a bank account, not a name, not a camera. We didn't have a camera when we first started. Not even business cards. We still don't have business cards. People say, how are you so successful without business cards? I don't know. We just say, here, take our number down. If you're serious, just here. Here's my number, call me. So number one, you need to be very intentional. I'm gonna give you 3, 4 things, I'm letting you go. The first one is you need to be very intentional and deliberate. And what I mean by very intentional and deliberate is, please, you have to hear this.
And we have to get to the point where we're willing to impose our will on certain things. Impose your will on them.
my life totally changed. And they gave me an opportunity to stop. And most people, when you give them an opportunity to stop while they're chasing something, they take advantage of it because they feel as if, man, why did this have to happen to me? I felt as if, why not me? This is the perfect opportunity to use this to be a blessing to somebody else. And you know what? It's not even about me to be truthful. It's not even about me now. It's about repaying the people that invested in me and saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself. At a certain point in life, it can't just be about you. And the moment that we understand that, and every day we wake up, we understand that life is a blessing and life is a gift. And if you were to check out today, how would you want to be remembered? It's bigger than you.
I believe in rugby that both teams are professionals, correct? Listen to me, both teams are professional. Both guys have, started young and they all have, are all, physically able to play the game. But what happens is you have one team that's good in spurts. You have another team that's dominant. Come on, hear what I'm telling you. When I say I need you to be intentional and deliberate, hear me, I want to paint the picture. You have one team that has the ability to score. They have the ability to do well. They have the ability to score on the opponent. What their challenge is that they can't do it, they can't sustain it. The teams that are dominant, all black, dominant, because they can do it from beginning to end. Right, listen to me, and they can do it team after team after team. Right, they can do it over and over and over. They dominate because they put pressure on you from the time you start to the very end. Like, even when they're up, they continue to dominate. And your problem is you're not intentional and deliberate.
Everything that you are seeking in your life requires your full, undivided attention. If you're giving all of these things that are coming at you, all of your energy, then you will lose. You're gonna struggle. You're gonna have to fight sooner or later. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a physical fight, because nothing can move unless the mind and the soul and the heart is attached to it. If you don't commit to these things, then you will lose. I love you guys very much. Coach Payne out. Conduct your business.
You wake up on Monday and you might be strong, but by Wednesday, somebody told me, ET, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. I said, I thought every day was hump day. It's hump day. I thought Sunday was hump day. I thought Sunday is where you really get started. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? You're not intentional and deliberate. You are hoping that the best is going to happen to you, and the best never happens to you.
And it straightens you out immediately. Because what causes the downslide is if you get wrapped up into what ain't happening, it get ugly, man. And it just snowballs. But you have to focus on gratitude. People understand how serious gratitude is. It's a serious principle of success. It's hard to be miserable and grateful at the same time. I learned this at my mother's funeral, man, which was like the roughest. That week of my life was like chaotic, man. I thought I was gonna die. My mama passed, I was 40. I didn't do good, man. I thought I was crumbling. I didn't know what that was, man. The most important person to me was gone. I was crushed. I thought I was gonna die. And at the funeral, my mother was a Sunday school teacher for 40 years. And I'm devastated. My mother's in a casket. That's just not the picture I ever wanted to see, right? And I was struggling with her being up there. And the preacher stood up and he said, I know y'all hurting. I got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. He said, but I want y'all to look around at this church. My mama had been a Sunday school teacher for 40 years. Church was packed. It was packed. He said, the overflow room is full. He said, we've put up projector screens in the parking lot. We don't do that on Easter. We just set up projector screens in the parking lot because so many people that came to see your mother off. Said, because your mother meant something to everybody. My mama's funeral was filled with the hood, the gangsters, the pimps, the hustlers, the dope boys, the police, the politicians, church people.
I'm doing all the right stuff. I'm not hurting nobody. I'm finding folks' wallet, and I'm finding a way to get their wallet back. I'm not disrespecting females. Like, I'm trying to do all the right stuff. Why am I broke? And God said, being a good person, son, has nothing to do with making money. That's absolutely, you're a good person, and you're going to be rewarded for that. Ask CJ, I can lose my computer, and somebody's going to send it back to me. I lose stuff all the time. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to lose people, but I'll lose stuff. It's like, it's not that deep. Listen to me. I'll leave money, and I'll leave money, not even in a wallet, just money sitting there. And I'll come back, and somebody says, did you lose some money? I'm like, it didn't have my name on it. Like, I'm being honest. The Beats by Dre, I left them on the plane the other day, did some work, came back. I just randomly walked up to 48, exit gate 48, randomly just walked up and said, I lost some headphones. And he said, oh, are they black with red? I said, yeah. He said, I think that they're down in the security. I'm like, security? That's 2 miles from here. I got to catch a plane another 15 minutes. He said, oh, I'm sorry. What's your name? I said, Airtown. He said, oh, they're right here. We're talking about in Los Angeles, California. I randomly walk up to a gate, and this guy just happens to have my